not supposed to be spending your event day manually providing information to your venue, your AV team, your caterers, and your team members. That is the job of your document. But when that document doesn't exist or is only partially done, that's going to lead to your team working from something else and building their own part of the event. Your venue is working from one setup. Your AV team is working from a different version of that setup. Your team is working from timings from 3 weeks ago. And the caterer, they never got that information about something that changed because it was done verbally and not written down. So then you end up spending your day answering questions that this document should have answered for you. So in this video, I'm gonna walk through what actually happens when you have this logistics sheet ready and in place for your team and your vendors. What the weeks before the event starts to feel like, what a pre-con looks like when you have it right there in front of you, how your team operates differently on site, and how this document helps you when things shift, because it's an event. Things are always going to be shifting, and this document is going to absorb it all. Because at the end of the day, the difference between an event that feels steady and one that feels like you're holding it all together comes down to if there is a place where all the information is updated and held together so that everybody can see it. So as your planning progresses, the master sheet is filled in along the way. Decisions you make for your project plan flow into this spreadsheet. When a session is confirmed that this is what you're having, it gets a row. A room then gets assigned, that goes into the column that has the room assignments. AV needs, catering needs, room setup, all of that goes into the document. And 2 to 3 weeks out, your master sheet should be in pretty solid shape. Now it's not final because events are ever evolving and things change last minute, but it should be in a good enough position that you can share it with your wider team, go through everything line by line, and pick up things that are missing and let your team ask questions, and then you fill in the blanks. And that right there is when you start to feel the difference, because the questions that your team are going to start asking now that they have access to this document are clearer and they're smaller and they're more direct. Instead of questions like, which room is the breakout in? It'll be more like, okay, well, I see this session moved from this room into Magnolia. Do we still want the room set up the same way? Or are we looking at a different layout here? They're looking at the document first and only coming back to you with questions that don't answer the basic questions. You can also start sharing the relevant information with your vendors. For instance, your venue would get the information about room setup and possibly even the AV, especially if you're dealing with like a hotel that has a whole AV team. Or if it's a separate AV company, the AV team gets that portion of the document. The caterers get their portion of all the catering and possibly room layout information. Instead of writing separate briefs for them, all you have to do is just copy and paste the information that you need into another document and send it to them. And when you sit down to have your pre-com with the venue, you have this document in front of you so that you can go line by line, cross-checking what you have matches what their BEO has. That way, if something isn't matching, you're catching it in advance and not on event day. 1 week out from your event, this document is the authority, your event Bible, for lack of a better word. Your event team should be looking at it first before coming to you. Vendors will have the details that they need, and anytime there's a change that needs to be made, it gets updated in this one document. That way, everybody is working from the same version. So that's the planning side of things. So now let's pivot to what happens when this master sheet has been working for the last 3 weeks. Your team shows up having already reviewed the document. They know what's happening, they see the bigger pictures, and they see how everything they're doing connects with what everybody else is doing. And for larger events, you can walk through this document with your team each day. For instance, if your event starts on Friday, find time on Thursday, the day before, to sit with your team to go over Friday's agenda. Go through everything line by line with the team to make sure that everything that they have and need is already in this document and that the whole team understands what's happening, all the missing pieces. It's a great way to figure out if something hasn't been thought of and to make sure that it gets captured. And then the next day, you have a similar meeting for the following days. Only this time you have information coming from that day's event and any pivots and changes that you need to make that might make it better can be captured in that moment and the spreadsheet can be updated. It's a great way for everybody to be aligned and a great way to make sure that lessons learned from that day's event captures any adjustments and tweaks that need to be made to make the next day even better. The room reset between sessions, for instance, if people need to be putting out paperwork for the next session, already assigned. The person handling it can already see it in the document and they don't need to come to you to ask any questions. They know what's coming and they know what needs to be done and by when. Your AV team will walk in prepared because they've received the relevant columns that has the information they need. So they already know what it is that they need to have to get things going. Your caterer, they can confirm everything based off those columns that you send them with your catering setups. And same with the venue. They can make sure that the room is laid out exactly as you want it. And you get to walk in as the host and not the person who's still connecting the dots between everyone. You are no longer the search engine or the person who answers every question. You are just the host. And that version of the event day with you as the host starts with you knowing where you are within your setup. So if you're not sure where that is yet, I've got something for you. If you want to see where your current event setup is leaning on you heavily, I've got a free assessment called the Event Pulse Check. It only takes a few minutes and you'll get your results right away. You can find the link down below in the description. Now, none of what we talked about means that your event is going to run perfectly. Events are ever changing, things come up, things happen. But the difference is what happens when this master sheet is there to collect it. This is a living, breathing document. It's ever changing and it's fluid. A session runs long, a speaker needs to adjust something, the venue comes back and says there's an issue with the room and so they're gonna need to move you to something else. These things happen and they're out of your control. But here's the difference. When things happen, you update the spreadsheet, you notify the relevant people, and you're all still working from the same event and same setup, same information. Without it, a change is relying on conversations, a text message, and hoping that the information gets to all the relevant people. A spreadsheet won't prevent change, but it does allow you to be able to manage it. When an afternoon session moves rooms, you update that row. Maybe highlight it in some sort of way so that the rest of the team can see that there's been a change. And then you can just send a link to that spreadsheet and be like, FYI, there's been a change. Please make sure that you're able to see it and capture it and send that to the relevant teams, whether that's your team members, the AV team, caterer, venue, whomever needs to know that information. You're not then chasing 6 different people with that information. You're simply updating one line and sending some kind of notification out to the wider team as a group one time. The document itself isn't going to make the event perfect. No event is perfect, but it does allow you to solve real problems that need your judgment without somebody having to come to you constantly for answers. And that right there is what completely changes the energy that you have on site. And this is usually the point where someone asks, okay, so do I just build this on my own? At this point, you've got 2 options. You can build it yourself from scratch, use the information we discussed in the last video and create it column by column, or you can start with one that's already built to this standard, simply ready for you to fill in. The Event Logistics Master Sheet is a Google Sheet template that I created based off what we've been talking about throughout this entire series. 1 tab per event day, rows based on time blocks, columns for session details, room setup, AV requirements, catering, and staff support. It also includes built-in formulas and drop-downs for things that should be automated to make things a little bit quicker for you. As your planning progresses, you just fill it in. It's a living document from the moment you start using it and your team starts working from it. When vendors need information, you pull from the relevant columns and you send it to them. And when things inevitably change, you just update it in one place. This is the master plan for your event. It's already built, you just need to fill it in. The link is down in the description to learn more. For your last event, you were the one who knew where everything was. Every answer ran through you, and you were probably telling yourself that this is what it takes to run an event and to host it well. It isn't. The reason why your event felt so heavy was because everything was running from one place, you. This master sheet moves it somewhere that the whole team can see. That way, this next event feels like something you actually want to host. One where you're present for conversations, where the guests remember you because the logistics were handled and invisible. That's the version I want for you. The Event Logistics Master Sheet is linked down in the description. Until next time.